This is Fraud to Fearless.
Friends, you were made for more purpose, more confidence, more impact. Because when you live fearless, you inspire others to do the same.
Let's go!
All right, y'all. Welcome back to the pod. We're rolling here. Season 2. It's so good to be back doing these little mini series. We're having a lot of fun. This series, Brooke, I'm just pumped for. I mean,
I'm so pumped for this.
It's going to be great.
So pumped.
It's literally start living now. Brooke and I, so we were in the lab after season 1, and as we reflected on building season 2, we wanted season 2 to be more aggressive, more proactive, more action. And so this series in particular was really kind of the main pinnacle of season 2 of Start Living Now. And this episode, wake up, y'all. Wake up to your life. Let's talk about it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to share some of the struggles that we have in this area. And then every episode in season 2, we're going to give some sort of a call to action. But Brooke, I mean, I think I'm really pumped for this episode.
I know. I'm so glad that you said we're going to talk about the struggles that we go through, because I feel like the reason why we can talk about this, Hayden, is because we can both say there have been moments in our life when we felt like we weren't living
100%.
at all. So
yeah,
it's been interesting to think how that shows up in life, but also in work. So I kind of want to talk about both areas. How does it look like when we're struggling with actually living our lives? Here's what I think. Okay. If you get stuck in this rut of feeling like, okay, I'm doing all the things that I should be doing. I'm checking all the boxes, right? I went to school. I got my degree. I have a job. I'm taking care of my family. But you're left feeling unfulfilled, or you're going through the motions. Is that actually considered living? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
What
It's
do you
hard.
think?
I mean, I think it's really a tough dynamic because I think there's a narrative that doing your 9 to 5, working your kind of the same job forever, a lot of people might be fulfilled with that. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think what we're saying, Brooke, is there's also the flip side to that I'm going through life and I'm not daring to be great. I know I want more, but I'm just afraid to either take action, or I don't feel that I'm worthy for something better. And if that's you and you're listening to that, then buckle up, because we're going to be unpacking that. And we've got some really exciting special guests that are literally experts on this that are going to come and break it down for us. But Brooke, I think it's so true that it's work and life, right? It's not just one of them. I want to talk about here at the beginning is there's a lot of escapes in life, right? So people can either hide from not finding fulfillment in their life with their job or alcohol or sweets or coming home and binging Netflix. And look, if you have a really hard day and you need to watch some Love Island or some trash reality TV, I'm guilty of that, okay? I'm not going to pretend like I'm not. I'm big fan. But if you do that too much, like within bounds, right? And so I think there's these escapes that kind of we go through life and we just kind of do what we're told, but we don't ever stop and reflect. And like bird's eye view, later in the episode, we're going to show you a really awesome example that will help illustrate what your life is actually like on a grid, and like how we can actually visualize your life. And it gets real, where we think about the scope of your life and think of like every week as like a little dot. Are you taking advantage of your weeks? Because they add up really quickly. And Brooke, I mean, I'm 3.5 months into being a dad. So humbling. I've also returned back to work. So humbling. balancing being a husband, being a dad, being an employee, trying to get to the gym, cooking a nice dinner, friends, family. It's so
It's a
much that
lot.
it's just so easy to escape in some of these things and forget about fulfillment and how I want to live my life.
Yeah, Hayden, I think what's interesting is how we actually define what living is. Because I think it can have lots of definitions that we've created in our mind that we're not even aware of. One is I'm living because like I can feel myself breathing and I'm doing all the things that I'm supposed to do. But I also think that sometimes we can have this false perception of living my life equals sunshine and roses all the time. Like
Hmm.
that it could be, we're not naive to the fact that we go through really hard things, like things that just bring us to our knees, humble us. And in those deep, dark moments, is that what living is? Like, I would argue that living is actually experiencing all of the good, allowing yourself to experience all of the good and all of the hard, all of those emotions. And so when you talk about this topic of escaping, I think escaping from the unpleasant parts of life is escaping from living. And
Hmm.
why do we do that? And why is it important to actually feel those things? So, so many good topics there that we could dive into. But
Yeah. Real quick, I want to hit something that you reminded me of, but I had a former boss at Honeywell. We had a really, good relationship, and she told me essentially she broke down life. And she was like, what's kind of funny is like, seeing the different generational gaps with like me reporting to her and her being, a different generation than me. But she's like, it's kind of funny. All of your friends kind of go through life at the same time, right? So it's like you graduate high school, you go to college, you graduate, you get a job. Somewhere along the line, you fall in love and you get married, and then kids start happening, and then you start buying houses. And then she's like 5, 10 years later, and then people start getting divorced and they start moving. And I think I've seen Brooke even now in life, it's been interesting starting to have kids because now all of our friends are either, have kids or trying and starting to have kids. But like now life is getting messy. Like now life is hard. Like being a parent is no joke. Like it is a full contact sport. But I think people forget it's kind of like when you get a puppy, you see the cute posts, the pictures on Instagram. You don't see the potty going to the bathroom on the floor in the house or eating through the rug or how much you have to walk and train them. And that's why so unfortunately so many people are like, this isn't for me. Let's take the puppy to the pound. And I feel like struggle in life is kind of like that. You want the pictures with the puppy on Instagram and you want to snuggle with the cute puppy and you want that, you know, human's best friend, right? The dog that's just like so excited to see you when you get home, but you don't want the struggle. You don't want the walks, you don't want the discipline, you don't want the training that takes so much time. And I feel like you could apply that to work, you could apply that to marriage, you could apply that to parenting. Isn't that a bummer? Like it's when you go to the gym to get the results, you got to grind and grind and grind and grind until you start seeing results. And I think we've forgotten that success doesn't happen overnight. And like start living now. It's not just about enjoying the great. It's not just about the picture of the puppy. It's about you train that dog. So you can appreciate that Instagram photo better now because you put all that time in.
yeah, yeah, the grass is not always greener. And I think I was having this dinner conversation with family members and some friends, and we were talking about work. and someone works in healthcare, and someone's worked in government, and someone's at a corporate America. We have a couple entrepreneurs sprinkled in there. And it turned into this funny debate of like, what is the hardest part of your job kind of a thing. And like, oh
Hmm.
no, I got you beat. And you're going to find struggles in every single area. The grass isn't greener. Are there good things and hard things about each of them? So I think it's recognizing, okay, you cannot escape life unscathed. And the question I would pose is, would it even be worth it to go through this life if you didn't? Because if you look back at those experiences, it's built you. It's given you skills and developed you. And yeah, we're like, I don't want that chapter again. Like, I'm so glad that it's closed. But with our little lot that we've been given, how can we wake up and start living now? Not escape it, not numb out, not use all of the things to, because of the hard things that we've gone through, not use those things to escape, but live in the good with fearlessness or with purposefulness.
Your reflection had to have been, we're all in different industries doing different jobs, but we all have something to complain about. There's water cooler gossip opportunities available for all of us. So it's like everyone struggles through the grind on some level, saying things like, I hate my job, or I'm living for the weekend. Brooke, I've totally done that before. On some level, I'm a little bit like
I
that now.
I totally have done that.
Or like, let's plan the next vacation. I used to live my life by being excited. The only thing I would look forward to is the next trip. And if we didn't have a trip plan, my happiness went down. That's really fair. But I think part of what we want to hit on, at the beginning here of this series is you're not alone. Everyone feels that. And so I think awareness is so huge to know that you're not alone. Everyone else deals with that. And just have that reflection on these struggles are real and they're not going to go away. Just being aware of it doesn't mean they're going to go away. It's a cycle.
Yeah, it is. It's relatable. And how can we just embrace it and realize if I have this struggle, then I am going to, there's a difference between feeling like you are a passenger to your life and versus the driver. Yes, this is hard, but I am consciously choosing this. That victim mindset, or like, I don't have control, or this is just how it has to be because of X, Y, and Z. How can you, with whatever you're going through, I can promise you, regardless of what it is, there's a way that you can switch that and step out of the victimhood into, despite all of these things, I can choose to show up this way. And that changes everything.
You're the captain of your own ship. It's so easy to become a passenger. I think one thing, Brooke, that we can all probably relate with is being a passenger to life using our phones. So everyone scrolls, everyone is on their phone, wastes time. It is so easy. If you've never done this, you should look and see how many hours a day you're on social media, or like how many different times. Like when you wake up, for those of you listening, when you wake up in the morning, what is the first thing you do? Is it brush your teeth? Is it take a shower? Is it drink some water? Or is it get on your phone? And if it's get on your phone, what do you go do? Think about that. And then just constantly think, like, how many times am I getting on using these apps? Brooke, one story is there's this restaurant in Uptown Charlotte that my wife and I love. It's called Finn and Fino. It's a great seafood place. But we went there for date night one night. My wife and I were really big on this idea of like being mindful of how you're spending your time and not being a passenger and making sure we're the captain of our ship. Ever since we've been married, weekly date night is like a sacred routine that we've always done. Like, it's a bad week if we don't have a date night. Now, it looks a little different now with the little rugrat, but we're still trying our best to find a way. So Finn and Fino, we went date night, and they had this special where if the table all turned in their phones, you got a free dozen oysters. Isn't
Wow.
that beautiful? Isn't that like
Wow.
we should all do that. Like, that should just be a thing where you're having family dinner and everyone's phone goes in the basket and you're like old school, having actual discussion, playing Q&A, discovering each other and exploring each other's personalities. But instead, how many times do you go to dinner and you like see the couple sitting at the table and like they're both just like on their phone, just like eating like on their phone? Let's not be that, y'all. Fraud to Fearless doesn't support that. Let's be mindful. Let's be intentional. Let's have good discussion with folks. So Finn and Fino tradition, I thought that was really cool. Hey, y'all, real quick. If you know of someone that would benefit from this message that you're hearing today, take a minute and send it to them. So often we think of somebody, we miss someone, we're impressed by someone, maybe we even love somebody, and we don't tell them. Let's not fall under that trap. Let's hold each other accountable, take a few moments, and send this episode to someone that would benefit. Let's do it, and let's do it fearlessly. All right, back to the pod.
And I think if you're listening and you hear these things and it's triggering, like I know I've listened to so many different podcasts or I'll see these things. Sometimes when I'm scrolling, I don't know if this has happened to you, when I'm scrolling on social media, then a little ad will pop up that's literally about like phone addiction. And it's like, stop, whatever it is. And that in me can either trigger this like shame feeling of, oh my goodness, no, that's not me denial kind of a thing. Or I just scroll past it. I'm like, I don't want to listen to it. So if you're like me and when you hear this stuff, you're feeling like, oh my goodness, I don't want another lecture on like this. I know that there's a problem, but sometimes it's hard. I think the purpose in this is to say, this is a this is a generation, like a generation that's being raised this way. And it's our job. We're like the biggest experiment ever. I can remember when I was young and my parents had pagers. Like I can remember when they got cell phones for the first time, right? Is that dating me? Like this is crazy, but we're in a
I
huge
don't think a lot of
experiment.
people will know what a pager is, Brooke.
Oh my goodness, that's fine. But it's like we're in this huge experiment and we might not have all the answers and we're all experiencing it. It doesn't make you a bad person is what we're trying to say. If you're experiencing this, it doesn't make you a bad person. And let's figure out how we can take these things that are impacting us and change it. So I would say step one to start living now is number one, identifying where I'm at. Like, let's
Mm-hmm.
just get a picture of what it is. Am I actually living? Am I allowing myself to feel the full gamut of emotions, experiences? Am I trying to protect myself from anything in my life? I don't want to feel something. Am I escaping from my life, any area of my life? And what is that? I think even just that one exercise, having the realization, but without shame, but just getting an inventory. Okay, this is where I'm at. And then I would say step two, after you get a clear picture of, okay, am I actually living? Am I a passenger in the car? Are there things that I hate about my life? Can I embrace those? Can I say I'm choosing this or make a different choice? Or yeah, am I going to stay as a passenger or can I get into the driver's seat and say, all right, I'm ready. Like, let's own it.
When I first started driving, Brooke, I had got some advice, and I also grew up on motorcycles. So for those of you that ride motorcycles or Harleys, I totally appreciate you. It's a completely different way of driving. It's defensive driving because, like, if you get in a car accident, it could be your last, right? Like it is very dangerous to ride, and so you need to drive very carefully. But the advice I got when I was driving is a collection of making subtle changes. So if you're kind of veering off the road, you can't overcorrect, because then now you're coming into oncoming traffic. That's what I want, how I want us to think about this. Don't don't overcorrect, don't oversteer. Don't be the person that's like, oh my gosh, I'm spending 5 hours a day on Instagram, I'm going to do 0. I don't think that's realistic, Brooke. I don't know what you think, but it's like, try to make a subtle change. Maybe it's, I'm at 5 hours. Next week, I'm going to set a limit on my phone to maybe like an hour, maybe 2 hours, whatever, whatever you need to do for social media. But or like reflecting on, I'm a passenger. Look, I'm a passenger in all of these areas in my life. What's one step I can take where I can start to be more of a driver? Maybe it's I want to join a club. I want to go meet somebody, meet a new friend. I want to tell my boss that I'm ready for the next step and like help me get there. What is like one way that you can start to do that instead of the overcorrection? Think of life is just like driving. It's a series of making subtle changes.
Oh, I love that so much. And I think going back to those steps, right? So if I was doing this for myself, then, and this is actually something that I've recently implemented and had to implement other times. When you said set a time limit on social media, I'm like, yeah, that doesn't work for me. I've done like the 20 minutes and then I know my own passcode, so I can just do ignore limit for today. So, but one thing that I have implemented that I felt super effective, especially like boundaries with my phone, because I've noticed the the hardest parts of my day are mornings and evenings, because I think that that's when I get the most done. And it
Yep.
sets the tone for my day, and my nights set the tone for my life. So I have 2 rules that I try to stick by. I'm not perfect at them, but when I do, they change everything for me. The first one is at night, I have a certain time, and it's usually after I put my kids to bed. I have a charger out here on my desk, and I'll put my phone on my charger out here. I don't plug it in next to my bed. Now, I have written down all the excuses of why this would be a bad idea. What if somebody calls me in the night, needs me, whatever it is, like you name it, I've come up with it. But when I can just put it away and then go to bed, and then when I wake up, my rule is that I am going to do my 3 non-negotiables before I look at my phone. And for me, that's something spiritual, that's something physical. And I try to drink a quart of water. So I think whatever it is, it can be something small. Maybe it's just, okay, I'm going to try to plug my phone somewhere else. If your way that you're trying to escape from life is through your phone, or if it's avoiding hard conversations, what's one small thing that you can do to change things up?
When you do your 3 things, Brooke, are they pretty consistent? So like something spiritual, something physical, drink a whole bunch of water. So the third one seems pretty consistent, but in your physical thing, give us like an example of like that, and then your spiritual thing, like you in the word, like you saying a prayer, like give us an example of like one time you did that this week.
Yeah. So usually what I do is walking. Like I have 2 little kids that sleep. And so it's hard for me. And as a solo mom, like I can't really get out to the gym or whatever else, but I have a little walking pad that I have back in what I call my exercise/storage room. And I do a very simple, I'll walk. And if I get up earlier, then I'll do a different kind of workout routine. But that's like my bare minimum. Like to take care of myself, I'm going to walk for 20 minutes. And that's really good because, it gives me I'm I get my best ideas when I'm walking and I have my best conversations and everything else. That's a whole nother episode. But as far as spiritual, so this is sometimes the hardest part, but I notice that it has the biggest impact on my day is I'll sit down and I'll read my scriptures. And I don't usually put like a time limit, like I have to be in it for this long or whatever else. But my goal is to get one insight. If I can, and sometimes that's one verse, and sometimes that's a couple pages, but I always write it down. Like I have a notebook that's open, and as I'm reading, then I'll write down thoughts. Now, what I've noticed, and I think this is where the phone comes in back to like what I'm trying to escape from, is as soon as I sit down to read my scriptures, I'll have like a flood of a billion things that I have to do that day. It's like every single thing that I have to do, every single person that I have to reach out to, all of a sudden comes crashing down. And I start to feel this emotion of like, oh my goodness, I have to hurry and do all of these things. Okay, so I recognize my emotion of anxiety, stress, whatever it is. That's usually when I escape to my phone because it's like, I don't want to feel that. I know I have to do
Right.
all this stuff. So now I'm in my scriptures, right? So everything that comes to my mind on a separate piece of paper, I just start writing it down. I write it down until my mind is literally empty. Like, okay, I've just done a brain dump of all the things. And then I'm actually able to study in peace.
Hmm.
And I have my list and then I can do it. So that's kind of what happens to me in the morning and the opposition that comes daily. But when I follow those practices, it helps me tremendously.
That's amazing. That's such a practical example. Thank you for giving us pop the hood and look on, what it actually looks like. One final example of like transformation doesn't need a big oversteer. It just needs a subtle change. My mom's a huge Tim McGraw fan. And so our whole family is. At one point, my mom was like, yeah, like, maybe we're going to end up being married or something, a big, big crush. So Tim, if you're listening to this, we'd love to have you on the pod. But he went on a really impressive fitness journey. And in an interview, he was talking about like in the country music, Tim's calves apparently have become famous. They're like, it's one of those calf muscles that you just won't ever see in your life again. It's just such an impress. But if you go back and watch like Four Christmases in that movie where, he was in a very different situation from a health and physical perspective, but just a very impressive transformation. And he was asked about it in an interview, and he said, it's like, how did you start? Right? We've seen the end result. We see the abs now and the calf muscles. How did you start? And he said, I walked. Every night I would go for a walk. And at first it was 5 minutes, then it was 10, then it was 15, then I'm walking an hour. Then I'm adding, weight training in there. And so if you're listening to even like what Brooke just said, it's like, don't really have a timer on being in the Word. I'm walking because like I can't leave the house, right? And I only have so much weight equipment at my home. It's better than nothing, right? Like Tim McGraw made those calves and he started with walking. So, Brooke, we're gonna do a fraud to fearless first. Let's do a screen share. So for those of you watching on YouTube, you're gonna come along with us on our first screen share. But we wanted to give perspective and a visual. So for those of you listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening that can't see our screen, essentially I'm showing a visual that's a whole bunch of squares. And there's 9 rows, and each row has 10 squares in it. And the top left says birth, and the bottom right says turning 90. And honestly, it's not that many shapes. And I think it essentially every row is a decade. And look, until Elon discovers the fountain of youth and we all live forever, this is probably a good guess about, like what a life looks like. And think about where you are on this scale. Think about where your life is. Brooke and I are like somewhere in here. Depends on the day, how honest we want to be about our age. But this is why it's important, because if instead of thinking about today and like what you're going to watch today, what you're going to scroll on today, who you're going to follow today, think about your life from like this perspective. Or like if we scroll down a little bit, this is
Yeah, I
in
love this
months.
one.
So this is like, again, every row is 3 years. So there's 36 circles across, and there's 3 years. And then you can see birth, 30th birthday, 60th birthday, and turning 90. It's just like, come on, y'all. Like, it feels like a long ways away, but depending on where you are on this scale, a lot of your life has passed. And so it's never too late to start those subtle changes in life. It's never too late to start walking every evening to build those Tim McGraw calf muscles. And I just think that this visual is really healthy and helpful to just recognize that this is how much time we've got, this is how much we've had, and this is how much we potentially do have. So today, start living now. Brooke, when you look at this, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it gives perspective because you can look at this and you can say, oh my goodness, what have I done with the last X amount of years of my life? Like, how have I filled it? And sometimes that can be filled with sadness or like even regret, or there could be fear there of this is how much time I have left. But I hope that we can look at it with some hope and opportunity. Like, this is a gift. Everything, we can't change the past. We can't change all the things that happened. And and there are many years that I look back and I was like, what did I do? Like, what was I spending my time on? And it's easy to beat ourselves up on that. And the purpose of all of this, if we can look at it and say, look at all of the weeks left that I have to live. And I get to choose intentionally how to do that. And maybe I choose one day of those weeks to, lay on the couch and sleep all day.
Yeah.
And maybe, but I'm choosing it. And maybe maybe I decide to change my whole life and do something else and realize that life is short. But each of these days, each of these weeks, each of these months, each of these years is an opportunity to become. There's hope in every part. We don't know. Our days are numbered. It's easy to forget that unless something happens. That's super hard. So having a reminder of this from a different perspective is helpful and can give us hope if we look at it the right way.
I love that. All right. Call to action. So Brooke laid down really the two steps, right? So one is like taking inventory of your life. Are you a passenger? Are you, a captain? And step two is, how can you change that? How can you influence that? What's one step? Again, not oversteering. What's one subtle change you can make to start living now, to take inventory of your life, reflect on it, and then make a change to get better, so that even if you're doing everything the same, at least now you know that you're choosing to do that. And then think about those circles or those squares of like, this is how many years I have left. This is how many months I have left. Am I doing it? Am I spending them how I want? And if not, it's never too late to start. Tim McGraw's calves, started with walks, in the evenings. Okay. So we
Oh my
also have a
gosh.
call out. So for you listening, send us a note, either a private note, send us a comment, but we're asking our listeners to send us your best story. What are you struggling with? How is, like being in the grind or being stuck or being a passenger? How are you struggling with that? How is the pod helping you? How is Fraud to Fearless helping you? And how are you going to wake up and start living now? Whoever sends us the best story, y'all, we'll send you a Fraud to Fearless gift. We'll give you some swag. Free. We'll ship it to you. season 2 also, we got swag now. So would love for you to, participate, send us some notes. We'd love to hear from you. And then Brooke and I will choose the best story and we'll send you some swag. And if you're open to it, hey, maybe we'll talk about it in a future episode. So for now, y'all, great episode. Brooke, awesome. That's the pod, y'all.